How you doing? This is the guy from Pittsburgh. Well, President Obama made a speech tonight, and part of what he said was that some decisions by police in this country are racially based on discrimination. Well, he no sooner finished those words than the rioters yelling, "Burn it down!" started rioting in Ferguson. Little Caesars, Walgreens, Taco Bell, AutoZone, Public Storage, and a beauty shop, which the governor of Missouri lauded for staying open to serve the community. Well, that beauty shop won't be serving any community tonight. It's been looted and burned to the ground. Meanwhile, the district attorney, who some have claimed that is discriminatory against blacks because he supports the police. Well, that's what the DA is supposed to do. He files charges brought to him by the police. Well, there's a video here on YouTube or on the web. There's the Walgreens smoldering. You can hear it. And they've set the Walgreens on fire. Here's a picture of looters setting stuff on fire with the American flag. Little Caesars Pizza Shop on fire here. There we go. Fox 2 Live, Little Caesars Pizza Shop. This is from Twitchy. Let's see what else we got here. Well, I don't see the pictures I saw a minute ago. More fires are burning in Ferguson than the fire department can handle. Here's another one they burned. That poor beauty shop owner. They looted the shop several months ago. Now they're doing it again. So, and I saw on Fox one black guy, and yes, he's black for those who want to think it's discriminatory for mentioning the word black, but he walked up with a baseball bat, tried to beat the crap out of the windows of McDonald's and failed, walked away, but other people succeeded. They smashed in the windows at the McDonald's there on Florissant, I guess, Florissant. Looted the McDonald's, looted Taco Bell. That must be the favorite now for looters. They loot Taco Bell at every riot. Got to have them tacos. And with your Mickey D burgers. And the poor bastards who have their stuff stored at public storage, well, there's video of that burning to the ground, so people have nothing to do with Michael Brown or losing everything they own that they got published, put in storage. The fire department can't go down there. It's not safe. At least 100 shots fired. One Fox cameraman beaten up. His camera smashed because he dared to show the people the truth of what's going on. And so at least 5 buildings burning. And across the country, it's amazing to me, an overused word by George Norrie, that in New York City and elsewhere, pre-printed signs show up talking about the verdict. Printed signs with the police commissioner of New York with blood on his face. And someone threw fake blood on him as the poor guy went out to the crowd, tried to calm people down. They threw fake blood on him. He had to be taken to the hospital. They don't know if it's real blood or fake blood. Some guy was arrested. Angry crowds across the country. New York, L.A., Oakland, St. Louis. They blocked the interstate. No word from where Norrie is. It's 10:20. I guess Norrie's on the air. So I don't have a riot helmet. This is the closest thing I got. And the media sitting there during the press conference by the local DA reading the reports out of the grand jury. And it shows how tone-deaf the media are to anything that doesn't meet their liberal paradigm, their politically correct paradigm, their racially politically correct paradigm. After he said repeatedly that there were contradictory bits of testimony of the grand jury, that witnesses saw Michael Brown beating the crap out of Officer Wilson in the police car. 2 shots were fired in the police car. They said they saw Brown trying to get Wilson's gun. One witness, I heard it on Fox, say that the little guy was having the door slammed by the big guy. The little guy was trying to get out of the car. The big guy kept slamming the door on him, I guess on his fingers. And then there wasn't any of this stuff, don't shoot. There was for a few seconds, but people said his hands were here. They were here. They were down like this. This is black witnesses, not white ones, who were on the scene, but some people only saw part of it or they only saw the end. There were a lot of people that lied. They had 3 separate autopsies, and the forensic evidence of that belies the lies that a lot of the witnesses said to try to make Michael Brown look like a victim. And now there's new evidence. Apparently the police knew Michael Brown had just stolen cigars from a store. And under Missouri law, the officer can apprehend someone who's just committed a crime. And one black reporter, sorry, but he was black, asked if this was justice. And the DA got pissed at him. He says, what do you mean by justice? When they go before the grand jury, we present all the evidence, and I did lodge 5 charges, and the liberal media is trying to make as if no charges were filed against Officer Wilson in this case, and the attorney for the Brown family is calling this a miscarriage of justice. The black Congressional Caucus said it's a slap in the face to all Americans. I don't feel slapped. I got slapped by the sidewalk the other night. By the way, my leg is still hurting, my ankle. This knee, the right knee, is hurting. It's swollen. I had to, it's amazing. There's an aside here. But, hope this thing isn't turned on a mistake. Okay, duct tape works wonders. Let's see if you can see this. I'm going to see if I can stick my leg up here. Duct tape works on everything. This damn splint came apart on me. Just unraveled. So I took it all apart, put a sock on because I couldn't sleep all night Sunday because my feet were freezing. This thing radiates all the cold, and it's cold in my living room. Now, right now in here it's 74 degrees. But my living room gets ice cold. So I duct taped the damn thing so it would stay together because it was falling apart. It worked. I can walk on it, but it's still, I look the bone above the hip. If this is not the hip, the ankle, and the back of the ankle, the bone right above the bottom of where the fleshy part of the ankle is sticking out about this far. So I've really made a mess of it. But anyway, to get back to our exciting story here, 100 or more shots have been fired. The peaceful protesters, or I call them rioters and thugs, were throwing rocks at the police, taunting them. Police fired back tear gas. They also returned fired all these shots in multiple locations. This crowd tried to tip over a police car, and when they couldn't do that, they set it on fire. And multiple small fires being set all over the place. So, the Brown family called for calm and, don't riot, don't do this. And when they looted, what did they loot? There's about 8 guys in a tire store they're inside the tire store, but I guess they can't, they lock down those tires at night. So I guess they're trying to break the chains or the locks so they can steal the tires. Cops showing up, but they're not doing anything. I guess they're afraid of the mob. And another store, an AutoZone, that was looted, and now it's on fire. And one person in the background said, "This is justice." So I guess now justice in America is looting. And I put a post on my forum, and also a lot of videos. There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube showing the rioting and showing the arson and the looting. And Canadians are concerned about this. They said, "We don't have this as much of a racial problem as you do in America." But they do have blacks in Canada. So, but I cannot believe the President of the United States, actually I can believe it because he's an idiot, would say that this this would be this is racial, so or it's discriminatory. And you know, there's a lot of people in the black community that seem to have this idea that automatically all whites sit there and all they do all day is plot against blacks. We're all racist. Every white, every non... I don't know if it's just whites or is it Asians too and Latinos. But anybody who's not black sits there 24 hours a day and plots against the black community. And every policeman in the country plots, plots against the black community. Every law enforcement officer plots against the black community. And I guess since they're the man in a sense, because they get shots fired from the fire department, the ambulance workers, nurses, doctors, they're all plotting. It's like the ultimate unproven, unspoken conspiracy. And Obama says, first and foremost, I'm quoting from the White House website, there it is, "We are a nation of law." I'm going to take built on the rule of law. Sorry about that. "We need to accept this decision was the grand jury's to make. There are Americans who agree with it, and there are Americans who are deeply disappointed, even angry. It's an understandable reaction." Then he says, he talks about, "It speaks to broader challenges we still face as a nation. In too many parts of this country, a deep distrust exists between law enforcement and communities of color." Well, I don't know any cops who actively go out and discriminate against blacks. I'm sure there are some. And then he says, but how many blacks, though, will taunt law enforcement? Now, I saw a few months ago, my girlfriend and I were in the BART station in San Francisco at the Civic Center station. And I needed to use a plug to plug in the electric wheelchair I was taking back from my mother's, which I finally got rid of, and ironically I could use it now, even though I didn't quite fit in it. So I asked the guy if I could plug it into the wall, and he said he was watching someone's band equipment, someone who was down there asking people for money, and the BART agent happened to see this, walked over and told the guy to leave. Apparently the guy was a local problem for a BART agent. He refused to leave. "I'm watching this stuff. You can't tell me to leave." So then the cops showed up, and they told him he had to leave, and "you can't tell me to leave." They arrested him. There was no racial animus by the police. He also had threatened the BART agent, threatened to beat him up. So you see this every day, guys with a chip in their shoulder. I have a friend, I'm not going to mention his name. He works retail, and he was waiting on 2 young black males, and he handed the friend of the black male a receipt for the groceries. He wasn't thinking about, who to hand the receipt. I guess he just Here's the receipt. The other guy, who was the customer, went ballistic on him, called him a racist because he didn't hand him his receipt. Now, and the friend calmed the situation down, seeing his friend acting like a total idiot, and they got out of there. So, you're calling a guy about a receipt a racist. Now, that's ridiculous. So, going back to Obama, though, let's see, where's this thing? Oh. What is also true is there are still problems in communities of color aren't just making these problems up. Separating that from this particular decision, there are issues in which the law too often feels as if it is being applied in a discriminatory fashion. Well, wait, the law feels it's being applied in a discriminatory fashion? That sounds bizarre. I don't know who wrote this speech for Obama. It doesn't even have proper English. Of course, I don't expect that from the Obama administration to write a speech in proper English. We had somebody like a Ted Sorensen who died a while back, and who was reluctant to talk about the JFK assassination. That guy can write speeches. These guys can't even put English in here. They can't even put proper syntax or anything. Now, Obama doesn't think it's a norm. I don't think that's true for the majority of communities or the vast majority of law enforcement officials. These are real issues. We have to lift them up and not deny them or try to tamp them down. Now, you tamp down your pipe tobacco. You tamp down a fire. You tamp down leaves you're raking. Where did you come up with these weird phrases? What we need to do is understand them and figure out how we make more progress, and that can be done. And so, and the cousin of Michael Brown said in an interview that he's convinced that this is an unfair verdict. People don't want to accept this verdict. They only want to accept one thing. It's like the old Doonesbury cartoon about Nixon, where I can't remember the character, but he goes guilty, guilty, guilty about Richard Nixon because there was hate for Richard Nixon in Watergate. And anything else to certain members of the black community and the white community, the white protesters out there too. Though I haven't seen any white rioters. It's 38 degrees in Ferguson, very cold. They're not going to accept anything but a guilty verdict on this thing. The guy was charged with 5 criminal counts, and the grand jury said, we're not going to indict him on any of these. He was defending his life. And so people in the black community need to get it that not everybody, every cop on the street is out to get you. And not every white guy in America or Canada is out to get you. I've accidentally, in anger, or when I see this, used the N-word. I admit to it, and I shouldn't. But yeah, we had a black woman testify in the Trayvon Martin case, and she used the cracker word. That's not acceptable either. But to me, when there's a line you cross, you stop being black when you start being a criminal and a rioter. You're a thug. You're a criminal. And I'm not the only one that feels that way, but there's a double standard here. Blacks can use a pejorative against whites, but if you slip up and dare to use the N-word, you're jumped all over. And I don't normally use that word, but sometimes I get so angry. I once got in trouble at work because I used the N-word about drug dealers. I can't stand drug dealers. And they were blocking the door of my store when I worked, and I got in trouble for that. And my friend said, I know George, he doesn't think that way. He lost his temper. I personally think drug dealers and the people that they work for should be taken out, horsewhipped, and then shot. And the same with looters. I wonder how much looting there would be going on if the police lost their temper instead of holding it. They criticized the Ferguson police for the earlier reaction. Now it's the St. Louis police out there, county police or something. But how many rioting would be going on if the first sign of any rioting they shoot the rioters? They did that in San Francisco after the 1906 earthquake, and guess what? The looting stopped. When you take your life, you're going to steal that beer. And that Ferguson Market, they were carrying out some serious six-packs out of there. But if other countries wouldn't put up with this stuff, they'll shoot you. No compunction, they'll shoot rioters. They'll use water cannons on them. They'll do whatever they have to. But our police are standing back because they don't want to make the situation worse. Now, I lived in Washington, D.C. for 8 years. My friends were all black. My dad was in the military. A lot of his friends were black NCOs. I didn't think it was black. They were Sergeant so-and-so, Sergeant Smith, Sergeant whatever, Wilson. Their families, my friend's family, Pumpkin Jackson was one of my friends. I can't remember after, this is almost 60 years, I can't remember his real name. My life me. His little sister got abducted by a pedophile in Rock Creek Park, offered her candy. They were swimming in the creek, and he pulled up to a whole bunch of kids and offered them all candy if they'd go for a ride with him. Well, the poor little girl, she was 8. She got in the car with him. They never found her. Never found her body either. She's never seen again. And I didn't know back then about pedophiles. That's another story I don't want to go into right now, but for personal reasons. But I didn't know there were pedophiles that preyed on little black girls or little black boys, for that matter. I didn't know there were pedophiles in the world. And I was about, 6 or 7 years old when this happened, and his family was never the same. They lost their daughter, he lost his sister, and he was never the same. But I went to a school with 90% blacks. When I moved back to Pittsburgh in 1968, my school was 90% blacks, and the idiot principal there wouldn't let them have a memorial service of Martin Luther King, who must be, every time these riots happen, must be spinning in his grave at warp speed. And that's how the Pittsburgh riots started. Now, I haven't seen any marching in Pittsburgh, the Hill District, or some of the other black communities. There's a fairly large black community in Sacramento, Las Vegas, Stockton. But we're not your enemy. The enemy is, the jerks out there happen to be cops. They're jerks first. They're cops second. I had a guy come to my door, a cop, block my door and ask me if I was going to get along with my neighbors a couple weeks ago, when I'd been threatened by 2 guys who came across the street because I was yelling at my girlfriend in her car. I was mad at her. They threatened to beat me up, then they threatened to beat my girlfriend up. But I became the victim because this cop was a bully. And I complained about it. I haven't heard anything since. I'm going to go over there and ask what happened with that. That's been a couple weeks. I look at people most of the time for who they are. I don't care if they're black. I don't care if they're Latino. If you're a good guy and you're being nice, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Da-da-da. I'll get in a conversation with just about anybody. I'm very gregarious. But I don't care what your skin color is. But when you start looting and torching businesses in your own neighborhood, they're just trying to make a buck and they're there to serve the community. They don't have to be in Ferguson. They don't have to be in East St. Louis. They don't have to be in East LA or in Watts or in Compton or in Oakland or in Fillmore or in Hunters Point. they're taking a chance every day in those neighborhoods. They're going to get robbed or mugged or shot or torched or beat up. They're just regular citizens like you and me and everybody else in this country trying to get by every day. And eventually they give up. They can't get insurance. They'll provide credit to people. Yeah, they might provide it at inflated rates or their prices are high. I once worked temporarily for a small grocery store on a corner, and I knew what his prices were. They're way above what you pay for a Safeway. But when you're out there at 11 o'clock at night and you need something to eat, there ain't no Safeway anywhere by. Your liquor store or your little corner grocery store is the place you got to go to get something to eat. Their markup is high partly because their supplier charged them a high markup. They're not doing it out of, I'm going to charge you to gouge you. They're doing it to make a profit. They got to pay rent. They got to pay electricity. They got to pay their mortgage off. They got to pay their employees. They got to pay for their supplies before they sell them. That doesn't get magically come into the store. But a lot of people think that they're greedy business owners and all they're doing is ripping off the community. Well, when you burn down a business in the black community, the Latino community, the Asian community, the Korean community, you're hurting the community. So you need to change your mindset. If you don't like the decision, get your legislature to change the laws. But don't burn down the town you live in. And don't beat up newsmen who are just trying to show the world, what the truth is and what's happening. And a lot of the police and community agencies and community leaders and religious leaders have been working for months since the original shooting to calm things down. But with some idiots, it doesn't work. I saw one councilwoman from East St. Louis. She wasn't going to accept, they call her something else other than a councilwoman, but she wasn't going to accept the verdict. People in the crowd, this is not justice. They only want one form of justice. That's the justice of the lynch mob. The justice of the rioter. The justice of the looter. They don't care about what the truth is. And we need to change that too. Not just the laws. If you don't agree with the grand jury, go to your local go to your governor or your mayor and say these laws need to be changed. So there was a public hearing instead of a closed hearing. I don't like grand juries for the secrecy. That's always bothered me. But there's a reason they have secrecy, because it keeps stuff out of the media, where the media can hype stuff up for ratings. All right. That's all I have to say. This is a long one. I'm sorry. I'll be back in a few minutes with another video on another subject. This is the guy from Pittsburgh. Hello, Justin. Hello, Art Bell Fan 1. Hello, Bell Gabbers that like me and watch my stuff. I know I got new subscribers out there, but I didn't catch their name right now. I'll have to look them up. But thank you for joining my channel. And free Art Bell, and I will catch you next time. Oh, speaking of Art Bell, I noticed that Surratt no longer says Art Bell at the end of his thing. I think it's shameful that these other guys aren't saying Art Bell when they close Coast to Coast. And that guy is terrible. But George Knapp had a program on JFK, and I fell asleep during the recap, but I heard the first hour till 2 o'clock our time. And as usual, it was a great George Knapp program. If it were up to me, I'd clone him and make him the host of Coast to Coast AM. Oh yeah, there's one other comment about Coast to Coast. I got this email saying that turmeric is a brain food for memory. Well, George Norrie says turmeric that he takes it or eats it or ingests it or whatever the hell he does, it puts in his smoothie, I don't know. but he does it every day. So if it makes supposed make you smarter, why does he make such dumb comments? All right, for Art Bell, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.